Hello everyone, happy Friday and welcome to the Mylio Photos coffee break. My name is Angela and today we're going to be talking about search and filter and easy ways to find your best photos in your library when you want them. Before we jump in, I do want to let you know that every Tuesday and Thursday we have live Q&A sessions. These are Ask Me Anything sessions where you can drop in and ask me questions about anything that's really photography adjacent. We can talk about organization, family history, photo editing, photo gear, travel, really anything that's even like remotely photography related. I am happy to do my best to answer. So please join me for those sessions on Tuesday and Thursday at 11:30 a.m. Pacific, 2:30 p.m. Eastern. Fridays we have these sessions, which are coffee breaks, and they are short tutorials followed up by time for more questions. Next week is a really important session. For the first time ever on a coffee break, we are going to tackle the topic of NAS, Network Attached Storage. We're going to be bringing on a couple of special guests. We're going to have Matthew from the support team. I think we might even have JC here with us. And we're going to talk about NAS and give you the information that you need to know so you can decide if that is a good option for you to integrate into your system. Not everybody needs a NAS, but this will give you the information to be able to make that decision and integrate it to the best possibilities for you. So let's go ahead with that and jump into today's session, which is all about getting to the good stuff. Mylio has some really cool sorting tools that help you bring your best photos to the surface so you can find what you want and not have to be bothered with endless scrolling. So that's really what we're going to talk a lot about today, is taking up where we left off last week. So if you missed last week's section, please go back and watch that. We talked about metadata that you can add to your pictures to help make them more findable in the future. Now there's a lot of great tools out there with AI and everything else, but the metadata you add is what makes those things searchable in the future because it's how you think. AI can certainly help with that, but the computer is never going to know exactly the way you remember things, and it's not going to work the way your mind works. So adding a little bit of focused information to pictures makes things more searchable in the future. So we focused on that last week, and today is where that work pays off. We're going to go into how Mylio Photos search works and how you can make the best of it. So the goal for today is to stop having endless scrolling, not have to guess at folders, and none of the, I know it's in here somewhere, that frustration when you're trying to find something specific and you're just not getting there. When you think of a moment your library should respond, you should be able to go to your library in Mylio and find those important things easily. And I'm going to show you a few things of how we're going to do that. So we're going to focus on Dynamic Search, QuickFilters, the Find tool, which helps you find things within a specific view, and then how to make it repeatable with quick collections. So if you have searches that you're running over and over, how to save them and be able to come back to them later. So first off, we're going to start with Dynamic Search. And this is where we can use real-world memory fragments. This is, again, how your mind works. Each of us is a little bit different in this. For any given memory, picture, video, whatever you're trying to find in your library, there's going to be something about it that calls to you. It might be a person, it might be a place, it could be a time frame, it could be there was a certain object in the picture. Those real-world memory fragments are what drive how we search. So start with what you remember. Dynamic Search in Mylio Photos pulls from your metadata. This is the stuff that you add to your pictures. So this can be a title, caption, keywords, people tags, location information. All of that is searchable. In addition, Dynamic Search leverages AI smart tags. This is AI object recognition, and Mylio recognizes over 1,000 different objects. So that is something that you can use to supplement your own memory and your metadata that you've added. It also has OCR, which stands for optical character recognition. And basically that's text recognition in photos. So if you took a picture that had a street sign in there and you're like, I know I saw someplace that had a street sign with my last name, you can go ahead and just type that in. Mylio will find that because it can read text in photos. It also searches your camera data. All of that is indexed, so the camera that you took the picture with, what lens you used, what settings you use, all of that is saved and indexed in Mylio Photos. So as long as that information covers what you're trying to search, you're going to have a really good chance of finding it. And again, that's why adding some of your own metadata, those titles, captions, keywords, and so forth, for your most important things really can make a huge difference, because smart tags, OCR, and camera data only go so far. So when you start searching with fragments, you're going to be looking for that person who you know was in the photo, the place you knew it was taken. Perhaps you remember approximately what year or time frame it was. You might look for a specific camera, a keyword, or something else that was visible in the photo. So some of the things you could search for would be Scotland 2025, mom in Yosemite, red truck, dog in the snow, or other things that really come to mind as you search. These are just a handful of examples, not a limitation, obviously, of what Mylio can search for, because that would be very odd. So what we're going to do is jump over to Mylio and run a few quick searches. So I've got my library open here, and to get to dynamic search, you're going to go over to the little magnifying glass icon in the left sidebar. Go ahead and click that, and that brings you to our dynamic search view. Now, right now, I don't have anything in the search bar here at the top, but this gives you kind of an idea of how this is organized. So up here at the top, we have photos. You can see all the photos that are in my library. You can search people, folders, places, events, and albums. And this is how your search results are going to be organized when you put something in. So if I go ahead and I type in something like sunset, we can see I have a lot of pictures that have something to do with sunset. I have folders with the name sunset in there. So Sunset Point, SD at Sunset, Sunset Cliffs, and so forth. So it's pulling from all of these different types of metadata in my library. This is meant to get you from your entire library, which might be 10,000 photos, it might be 1,000,000 photos, but to take that large number and narrow it down to something more manageable. So that gets you closer. Now up here, I can say what under photos, maybe I just want to say view all. And then maybe I want to say sunset and San Diego. And that takes me to a different search. So you can go ahead and modify this, but I'm going to show you a few little modifiers here that are going to make this much better to use. So if your results feel too broad, use things like quotation marks. Putting quotes around a phrase. So if you have specific words that come right before each other, so Lake Tahoe, San Diego, San Francisco, put those in quotation marks, and then Mylio's not going to be looking for San and Francisco. It's going to be looking for San Francisco. So again, that's going to be helpful here with this search that I just ran. So I can say sunset and quotes San Diego, and this is going to give me a much more refined search. And those kinds of things can really make this tool much, much more helpful. So keep in mind those quotation marks. You can also use an and. So you use one phrase or one word and another phrase, another word. And that's going to give you something that requires both of those terms to be present somewhere in all of that metadata. If you want it to give you an or, so it can be this one or this one, you can use or in between those search terms. Now, Mylio respects Boolean search. It's kind of a techie term there for some of you. If you want to learn more and some of the other advanced searches that you can run in Mylio, go to themanual.mylio.com. This is our how-to guide. Down in the appendix, so you scroll all the way down to the bottom of that table of contents, there is a chapter here for custom search and filter expressions. And we go into a ton of these options that are available in Mylio Photos. But the ones that you're going to make the most use of for most occasions are going to be those quotation marks and the and or. So hopefully those give you a little bit of help in narrowing down and using that dynamic search to take the broad spectrum of your library and bring it down to a manageable chunk for you to look through to find something specific. Next, we're going to talk about QuickFilters. This is a great tool for narrowing the field. So you've gone wide, you've already brought it in lower. Filters takes that result and gets you even closer. So this refines what you're seeing on the screen, and you can filter by a number of things. And you don't have to do dynamic search first and then QuickFilters. You can use a combination of those two tools, or you can use them separately. I actually use QuickFilters probably a lot more than I use dynamic search. Dynamic search is for that quick, let me see if I can find it really fast, but if I need to really dig in, QuickFilters is where I spend my time. because I can go in and filter my entire library by my ratings, dates, cameras, down to specific camera models, file types, different file extensions, people, keywords, smart tags, and many, many more parameters. So let's take a look at that really quick. I'm going to go back over here to Mylio, and I've got my sunset in San Diego. Let's go ahead and just say view all. Now let's say I want to filter this down to my best sunset pictures. I can use quick filters by opening up the left panel here or clicking on the filter icon at the very bottom of the left. And there are all of my different ways that I can filter and refine what I'm seeing. One of my favorites is by rating, label, and flag, and I can say I want to see my 4 and 5-star images. And that's going to narrow the field to those best images that have something to do with a sunset. So ratings, labels, and flags I think are awesome. You can also say by keyword. I can go in here and I want to say, let's see here. Let's see what keywords I have available. Not going to find many. Let's just go ahead and say nature. And that whittles it down to anything I've tagged with nature. So again, you can get very, very specific based on the metadata you've added, plus the metadata that Mylio automatically reads and those smart tags used by AI to find specific things in your library. So quick filters are infinitely helpful, and I find them to be a lot of fun to use, and just they make finding things super easy. If you know what camera you took it by, you can go ahead and go by camera and lens. And I can say I want to find everything that was taken with Apple. So if I want it to be any of my iPhones, let's go ahead and just click on that one. And I'm going to go ahead and take those out of there. And let's go ahead and just clear back out that search. And we're filtering down here to anything that was taken with my iPhone. If I want to go into a specific iPhone model, I can say, okay, only stuff I've taken with my iPhone 17 Pro. And that's going to bring that down even further. So only things that have been taken with that particular phone. So you can see how helpful quick filters are in narrowing your library. Now, when you're using these quick filters, there's a couple of different ways you can kind of work with these. You can preview the results by just clicking on one of these terms, but you also can pin it and you'll see that turns this blue. And that makes it persistent. So you can then add in other options. If I only had it clicked and just had it highlighted here in white, you see that this is not blue up here. When I jump to another model, a phone, it's not keeping it. So if you want it to stay up there, click that little pin icon and that makes it persistent. So just a little tip on using those quick filters. You can also clear those filters by clicking this X here, and that takes you to an unfiltered state. So let's go ahead and move on and take a look at what search and filter in action might be. So what I'm going to do here is start out really broad, and I want to search for Scotland pictures. I went to Scotland last year and I want to see what I can find. Then we'll narrow it down to find the best with the 4 and 5 stars. And then I can take a look at the by dates, and maybe I just want to see what I had at the end of the trip or versus the beginning of the trip and make it into a much more narrow search. So let's go ahead and do that together. I'm going to go to my all photos view for this, and then we can go to search, and I'm going to type in Scotland. And there we go. So I've got everything that is relating to Scotland, 987 pictures. That's a lot to go through. I've got some places that showed up, so things that were tagged, and text and photos. So I'm going to go here to view all at the top right, and that's going to show me all of my Scotland pictures that I have that have something to do with Scotland. And from there, what I can do is narrow this down. I'm going to go ahead and close up those filters and go back up to my by rating, label, and flag and find everything that's a 4-star or a 5-star. And that took me down from, let's see if I clear that, 987 pictures to 74 pictures. That's a much more manageable group. So I know that I've taken it, and now I'm seeing the absolute best in these images. If I want to take this a little bit further, I can go down to by date, and I can say I only want to see the ones that were taken in October. So this trip was at the end of October and went into November. So I can say I just want to see my October ones, and now I'm down to 69. Or I could swap that around and say I just want to see the pictures there from November. And that gives you another way to take it down more and more narrow and get you closer in to what you're trying to find. Now, sometimes we might not have taken the time to flag, rate, or add keywords to a specific image, but we know there's something nearby that we probably did. So on any of these pictures, if I go, okay, great, there's Rosslyn Chapel, I want to see more pictures from that date. I'm going to go ahead and click on that picture, and I can easily navigate in my library to show it in the folder so I can see everything that's in that folder, or show it on the calendar to see everything from that day. So that's a really quick way to jump to other things in your library and find things really, really quickly. So if I say show in calendar, there we go. That's all the pictures I have from that particular day. And now I can be like, oh, that's right. I wanted to see the picture of the monument that was outside the chapel, not the chapel itself, or whatever it is, whatever memory it is you're trying to locate. So the other thing that I want to point out in locating things in Mylio is the find tool. This one is to look for something specific in a specific view. It's not going to search your whole library. It's only going to search what you're seeing on the page. So for example, if I am in my all photos view, it's going to do a find of everything, and that's a Control or Command F. If you don't have the keyboard attached, you can always go up here to the More menu, and there is the Find tool up there as well. So let's go ahead and just go find, and I can type in, let's see here, Borrego. And that's going to take me to things in Borrego Springs. And it just jumps me down the list. You can see it's grayed out things that do not match. And then I can go ahead and arrow through everything that matches that particular find command. Go ahead and X out of that. The place where I find this to be actually the most helpful is in People View. And when I'm trying to find a specific person, I've got a lot of people in my library. Let's go ahead and open up my info panel. 372 people. And some of them have the same name. So let me go ahead and just, again, do that Command or Control F, and I'm going to find my dad. And there we go. I've got our friend Terry, and then there's my dad. And that makes it much, much easier to find specific things. So if you're looking for pictures of a certain person, this helps you jump to them much more easily. You can also do this in Map View. This is going to look for a specific location. Calendar is going to look for a specific event. So different views use the find tool a little bit differently. But again, what you're going to do is use that Command or Control F, and that helps you locate things in a specific view. I find it to be very helpful, and I use it far more than I ever expected. There are so many different ways to find things in Mylio. It just depends on how your mind works. Don't feel like you have to use all of them, but use the ones that make the most sense for you. If hanging out in QuickFilters is the easiest place for you to just kind of drill down in your library and find specific things, do that. If you love dynamic search and you want to put in those Boolean search terms, awesome, you can do that. You can also put those Boolean search terms into QuickFilters under the By Custom Quick Filter down here. And that's something we'll talk about here in a minute. This is a way you can get very, very custom results with this. So Mylio makes it easy to be very general, but then also to get very specific and make very complex searches if you need to. So let's go ahead and move on here and make this process repeatable, because there's probably going to be a lot of searches that you're going to come back to over and over and over again. So if you find yourself repeatedly searching for something, so in this example, we're going to use San Francisco and Bridge, and I want all of my 4- and 5-star images. So if you have a search that you're constantly looking for, you can dial it in and then save it as a quick collection. So let's go ahead and do this really quick. I'm going to do, let's see here. I'm going to search. You also have a search bar up here in QuickFilters, so you've probably noticed there's a lot of options underneath each one of these. You can search for them here. So I'm going to go ahead and just type in San Francisco. And there we go, by keywords. I'm going to go ahead and click on my by keyword, and let's pin that. So now I'm finding everything. Actually, let's go back to All Photos View. Let me start that over. All Photos View, QuickFilters, and let's type in San Francisco. There we go. So now I have my San Francisco. I'm going to pin that so it stays up there. And I found all the pictures now I have of San Francisco. Now let's refine this a little bit further, and I want to find everything that's just the 4 and 5 stars. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and say 4 and 5 stars. That's cool. The other thing I want to do is I want to refine this down so I'm just looking at bridges. So again, I can go here to this and I can type in bridge. And I have an AI smart tag. That's pretty cool. Or I have the keyword. I can do both. I can say I want everything that has the bridge as a smart tag. And I can say keyword. Oops, let's do bridge. and we're gonna say by keyword and go ahead and put that in there. And then I can go ahead and take that and see how I wanna do this. So I'm gonna go ahead and take my rating out of there, and I'm gonna take the AI Smart Tag out of there. There we go. And then let's go ahead and scroll to the top and dial this in a little bit better. So I'm gonna say 5 stars. Okay, that's a good collection. If I am always coming back and wanting to find my best San Francisco Bridge pictures, what I can do is save this as a quick collection. So once you've dialed in these pills at the top and you have your filters in that blue state, what you can do is go here to this icon, which is a quick collection, and save that as a new quick collection. So I'm gonna go San Francisco Bridges. There we go, and say save. And now at any time I can come back to this. So I can clear this out. I can go to different views. I can work through my day. And if later on I go, that's right, I need to come back to that particular search, I can go here and scroll down. There's my San Francisco Bridges, and that's gonna pop me right back to that search. This works really well for a variety of things. So if you're constantly searching for something and you know you're gonna have to keep going back to it, go ahead and save it as a quick collection. The other thing this works really well for is it works kind of like a smart album. So let's say you want to see all of your best pictures from a specific vacation. You can create a Scotland and 2025 and 4 and 5 stars. And that's going to, every time you add more pictures or you edit a picture and you mark it as a 4 or 5 star, that will end up in that collection and you can jump back to it anytime. So quick collections are really super powerful. And again, you access them from this icon right here, the little 3 squares with the lightning bolt. And you can save any set of filters as a new quick collection that you can jump back to at any time. I find this to be very helpful for a variety of reasons. There's some in here that are built in, and you can go ahead and use those. You can build all sorts of different ones. Like I've made one here for things that need to have copyright information. I've made all sorts of different ones that I come back to, things for my big camera that need GPS information. So lots of different things that you can set this up to come back to these quick collections over and over. Mylio is so incredibly powerful in what it lets you search for, and it's just knowing the tools and knowing where to go to find specific things, and you can get over that endless scroll of what folder is this in, and just kind of flicking on your screen to find that particular image. So the big picture here, what you're gonna do, the workflow to keep in mind is what we talked about last week is adding that metadata. Between that and the AI tools, that gives you the context you need to be able to recall and find those fragments of memories. Then you're gonna go into dynamic search and kind of do that big picture search. That's gonna get you close, and it's probably going to direct you to where you need to look in your library. So search for those memory fragments. From there, you're gonna go to QuickFilters and you're gonna narrow in those results. You might also remember what camera you used, the time frame, so many different ways that you can narrow it down. It all depends on how you think and remember, and we're all a little bit different that way. And then finally, if you need to make this repeatable, if it's something that you're gonna go back to over and over, save it as a quick collection. Being able to jump back to those memories and those best shots so easily is really, really a time saver, and I really enjoy that particular part of the process. So start broad, refine the results, and save what you use often. We can go ahead and wrap up for today. Just a reminder that next week we will have our live Q&As on Tuesday and Thursday. You guys are welcome to jump in and ask any questions, whether it's on today's topic, any other topic, really anything photography adjacent, I will do my best to answer. So they're a lot of fun. We cover a lot of different topics, a lot of different ground. So 11:30 a.m. Pacific, 2:30 p.m. Eastern. Friday next week, we are going to do our first ever NAS coffee break. And if you're not aware what the NAS is, don't worry about it. A NAS is network attached storage, and it's not something that everybody needs. It is highly technical, so we are bringing in the big guns from our support team to talk about what you need to know about NAS, and so you can make a decision of whether it's a good fit for your workflow or not. It's not necessary for everybody, but there's a lot of people that use them and want to integrate those into their Mylio workflow, so we'll talk about that next week. With that, I want to wish you guys a wonderful rest of your day. Have a great weekend. Go out and do something fun. Take some pictures. I'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.